Hello and welcome to another build guide. So Blade Vortex, one of the most popular skills of all times. It got reworked, balanced, I don't know, nerfed, buffed, received lots of treatments over the years, and still probably one of the most popular skills. It is also a very good, boss killer if you know what you are doing. So the character I picked is a Chieftain, but we are doing a crit build unlike the maybe 99% of the player base. Because if you want to play Elemental Overload with this character, your DPS will just stuck at some point. You cannot push any further, or you need some insane gear maybe. This is gonna be a high budget build obviously, so do not try this at league start. But my high budget builds most of the time around at most 100x, maybe 90x, something like that. I will also mention the usual craft maybe stuff, those kind of stuff, so you don't get scammed on some of the pieces. Also, I will give you two different path of buildings. They are gonna be in the same path of building obviously, but two different versions of this build. One is a full DPS boss killer, more than 50 million DPS. So that is what I use to kill, Maven, maybe some, what is that, 4-way breach lords or whatever you call them, the Maven invitation stuff. So those kind of hard encounters. You can also kill those on the second version that I'm gonna give you. That one also has more than 30 million DPS, fully block capped, 75 attack block, 75 spell block, mitigation, those kind of stuff, endurance charges, everything. But if you want to mostly farm bosses with this build, make sure you play that full DPS version. But if you want to do everything, if you also want to map a lot, because mapping with this character is so much fun. If you haven't played Blade Vortex maybe before, definitely try it. So yeah, if you don't want to die, just play the tankier version and you can still kill all the bosses. And the Guardians, Conquerors, those kind of stuff just lasts 2 seconds maybe, even with the tanky version. With the DPS version, they are like just dead in a second. You can't even see what's going on, alright? So yeah, I will mention more stuff after the clip. So as usual, let's just watch the boss clips, then the full guide begins. Alright, before we start with the items, again, let's just do some little more explanation about the build. So the character we are playing is a Chieftain. So what has Chieftain, what can he do? So Namahu Flames Advance, this is one of the most broken ascendancy points in the game, as before, it is still the same, haven't got any nerf or whatever. If you maybe played my Burning Arrow last season, you know what the deal is. This is why Chieftain is one of the best for DPS on these kind of builds. Obviously Assassin is also good, but I'm not comparing those two, but he is good at physical conversion builds thanks to this. So 50% physical damage convert to fire damage. We will also convert the rest thanks to the Avatar of Fire Keystone. So this is a fully fire build. So we are not dealing any physical damage at all, but still you can scale physical damage. Obviously every 10 seconds gain 100% of physical damage as extra fire damage for 4 seconds. So you need some time to get used to the playstyle. You need some timing. You need to do your timing right. So before attacking a very big boss like a Guardian or Conqueror, those kind of anything, just that boss, if you can make the timing right and attack with this 4-second buff, you will just kill it instantly, because this note alone gives, let's just check real quick at the full DPS 7.3, what's that, 20 million DPS alone. So this is just overpowered. Maybe it's gonna nerf at some point, I'm not sure, but it is like this for a couple of leagues now. So let's just keep abusing this. So yeah, Hinakora, Death's Fury, fire damage leeches life, so you can leech life without even investing on a cluster jewel or anything like that. Cover rare or unique enemies in ash for 10 seconds on hit. So when they are in ash, they take more fire damage, so a lot of DPS. 10% strength for some life. Tassalio Cleansing Water, a lot of fire resistances, so you are, it is very easy to cap resistances on a Chieftain thanks to this. 15% physical damage from hits taken as fire, so some mitigation. Unaffected by ignite, so that's also nice. Increased recovery rate if you have taken fire damage from an enemy hit. So if you take maybe physical damage, it also counts as fire, because you also take some physical damage as fire thanks to this. So most of the time 50% increased life recovery rate, so you will just notice that your health gets recovered under a second maybe if you take a very big hit, because your leech recovery rate is insane with this build thanks to playing a Chieftain. And finally Valakos Storm's Embrace, some endurance charge stuff. So the good thing about this is, if you have used a war cry recently, I picked Enduring Cry. It also has life regeneration, gain 1 endurance charge every 1 second if you have used the war cry. So we are also using Call to Arms, Keystone, so our war cries are instant. So just put your Enduring Cry on your left mouse button if you are lazy, or that is how I played, you can do that. So yeah, just put it on your left mouse button, you will just use it all the time without even doing anything while moving around instantly. So you will have those endurance charges all the time. So yeah, if you also want to min-max your DPS, you can also press an Immortal Call by demand, just put it on your skill bar. 15% more damage if you have lost an endurance charge in the past 8 seconds. So before entering a boss, make sure you have, make the timing right. So you have your Namahu Flames Advance when you pull the boss. So in that 4 seconds, also press your Immortal Call, Wall, Righteous Fire, those kind of stuff. And the boss is just dead in a second. So let me just also explain the differences between the two versions that I'm gonna give you. First one, full DPS, more than 50 million burst DPS thanks to Namahu. If you don't have it, it's like 35 million or whatever. So if you mainly want to farm Maven or maybe the Neve Maven invitation stuff, so let's just say the Echoes of Atlas stuff, because they are the most, they are the hardest content right now in my opinion. So if you want to farm all of those, boost your friends or whatever, just play the full DPS version, because you want to kill them fast. Alright, but you can obviously also map with that, but let me just explain what is wrong with a Chieftain. So that's why you will need the second version to be tankier. So Chieftain has a lot of physical mitigation thanks to his own kit. Endurance charges, 15% physical damage from hits taken as fire, those kind of stuff. Alright, he is tanky against physical damage. but he doesn't have any spell protection. That is how a chieftain is. Since this is also a bow build, because we are using bow and a quiver to maximize our DPS, that is unfortunately the best way to get good spell DPS on most of the builds these days. So that means that you cannot use maybe shield charge or whatever attached to a fortify. So you cannot get fortify. You don't have any more mitigation. So you don't have any mitigation against spell damage. That's why the second version using a quiver, a unique quiver, which I'm gonna explain in the item section, for some spell and attack block. Plus the talent tree is a little different, just a little. And also finally I'm using a Rumi's concoction flask. So we are at a cap block thanks to glancing blows. So a lot of mitigation, 75% attack and spell block. So yeah, that version is way tankier. You can still kill, you know, the Sirius, Conqueror, Guardian, the usual stuff. Even those 4 way, what's that, Guardians, those kind of stuff. But Maven, you can still kill. I killed her, but died maybe 1 or 2 times. If you want a deathless, faster character, you know, make sure you play the full DPS version. But even with the block version, yes, we can do everything. But the DPS difference is, you know, real, like 20 million DPS difference. So yeah, that is huge. But mapping with the block version is way better, because you won't die with that. But with the other one you will sometimes die to some maybe big spell damage burst, those kind of stuff, beyond content. Maybe if you want to farm juicy maps, double beyond, triple beyond, nemesis currency sextants, those kind of stuff. Because I am also obviously not using a headhunter, that is up to you. So yeah, the full block version is way tankier, so it is way better for mapping. Alright, let's continue with the items now. Let's, you know, start explaining everything. So first, weapon, bow. So this is one of the best ways to scale a gem level and spell DPS on most of the builds these days. So what you are looking for on a bow. So first of all, the base type. If you want more DPS, you can pick something with crit multiplier. So something like a recur bow is fine. I think there is 1 or 2 more base types, but this one requires a little dexterity, only 65. But since this is a blade vortex build, you will have more than 159 dexterity. So maybe you can also pick another base. So make sure you check the dexterity requirements. Alright. So yeah. The other stats, the stats on the bow, prefix and suffixes, let's talk about those. So most important ones are +1 gems and spell damage or crit multiplier if your budget is lower. If you want everything, obviously put both spell damage and crit multiplier. So to get the spell damage, if you want to craft this on your own, I do that most of the times. You need to use Essence of Woe. So that's how you can get spell damage, and just spam it until you get +1 gems, those kind of stuff, and use Annulment Orb or maybe Harvest Craft to get rid of some stuff. Since this is not an influenced bow, after the 3.14 Harvest nerf, nothing will change if you want to craft this bow, I believe. So maybe you can use some Harvest Craft, but I'm not 100% sure, because, you know, Harvest is getting nerfed, so I don't want to talk about Harvest that much. So yeah, Essence of Woe, or just buy this from someone else. And finally, multimode the rest, +2 level of socketed support gems. We are obviously using an Empower support, so that is why this kind of gem level is very important to scale DPS. And a double damage maybe. If your bow is missing crit multiplier, you can also put crit multiplier if you want. So yeah, this is how a bow should be. About the colors, let me just also check that. So yeah, since this requires 5 of colors, so having a 6 white, those kind of bow is also good actually. So try to buy something with 6 whites or maybe 4 white sockets, those kind of stuff, because we are using 4 blue, 1 red, 1 green. Only the green is, you know, the default color on a bow, so all the other 5 colors are off colors. So yeah, it is very hard to color this on your own, so make sure you buy a bow with 6 whites or those kind of stuff. So that is important, do not forget. Finally, yeah, about harvest, one more thing. You can just use, you know, enchant from harvest and put elemental damage per 2 quality for better DPS, or just use area of effect if you want maybe a better mapping, maybe that will provide 1 extra radius. I haven't calculated it, so I'm not sure. You should calculate it and put that if it does something, you know, maybe it is not doing anything. So yeah, it's elemental damage or area of effect quality to finish the bow. Quiver. So there are 3 options. First of all, signal fire. I am not using this, by the way. This is shit in my opinion. This is mostly for what's that, non-crit chieftain builds. Since we are crit build, and since this quiver doesn't provide any life or those kind of defensive stats, that's why I think this is a shit quiver. I don't advise you to use this. But if you have a lower budget, if you want just some, you know, decent DPS, just use this. But eventually you will just dump this. You should craft your own quiver. So what you need? So since this is a crit build, you have only one option, spike point quivers. So how you should craft this? There are 2 ways. So first, here is what I did. Buy a fractured quiver with some maybe decent life. I picked tier 1 life. Or it can also be dexterity, because you are gonna need it. But you don't need to put dexterity on your quiver. You can just put it somewhere else if you want. But that is a very good place to get it actually. So yeah, a decent fracture, life, dexterity, or crit multiplier. Pick one of these. Then use essence. The essence that I'm gonna put picture. The name can be wrong. That's why I am not telling it, but it's gonna be on the screen. So just use this essence until you get something decent. So the total stats that you need: life, crit multiplier, physical damage as extra fire damage is, you know, thanks to the essence, so you will get that all the time. So these 3 stats are the most important ones. If you want to try more, because this is a corrupted essence, it is like 10 chaos, 12 chaos, it is not that cheap. If you want to try more, you can also aim dexterity, and finally maybe crit chance. So yeah, this only took me like 5 or 6 tries. Maybe you will try like 10 or 20, I don't know. So yeah, this is a little crafting. This is not, you know, if you search something like this, this doesn't exist. Alright, you should craft this on your own, and this provides better DPS and also a lot of life, those kind of stuff. So eventually it is way better than a signal fire. So make sure you craft your own. There is also one other quiver type. It is actually the, you know, same stuff almost. Warlord base. I believe it is on Warlord. I will just put a picture. Again, physical damage as extra fire, and it is actually higher. So it is a better quiver actually, but again, if you search for similar stat, it is very hard to find or very expensive. So if you want even better DPS, you can also craft or buy, you know, just snipe it, maybe just check the trade market, whatever. So yeah, you can also buy a Warlord base for even more DPS, because it gives better physical damage as fire damage. So final quiver, and that is the quiver that you should use on the block version if you want to be tankier. What's this? Rear guard, unique quiver. So what does this quiver do? Block attack damage, block spell damage. These are the 2 stuff that you need. The other ones are mostly useless, but it also has armor, which is nice. So this is how you can cap your block easily, but this way you will lose a lot of DPS. But this is to be, you know, way tankier. So you can also play with this if you want to be tankier. Since this is only like 1 alchemy quiver. Also search one with physical damage as extra fire, corruption. You can also try that on your own if you want. But just search for it, you know, you will just find something eventually. These are not that expensive. Most of the times I bought this for like 30 chaos, because no one's playing with this quiver. But if this video blows up, maybe, I don't know, you just need to camp for a new one maybe. Yeah, so yeah, eventually try to get something with corruption, and that's it. Helmet, devouring diadem, very cheap. It is a little expensive at league starts, but since this is a high budget build, you can just buy it cheaper later. I bought this for like maybe 10 chaos. So yeah, but if you also want to put some enchant, maybe you need to camp, so maybe you should you can spend a couple of exiles if you want better DPS. So eventually I bought something with elemental weakness curse effect because that was the cheapest. So you can get something with curse effect, something with blade vortex, which is very expensive, or I'm not sure, maybe some, no, you don't need that, I'm not sure. Just try to pick something if you have the budget, but you don't need enchant that much. It only provides like 1 or 2 million DPS maybe. So yeah, you can just get away with that. You don't need that much. So why are we playing with Devouring Diadem? So this way you don't need mana at all. We are playing with Energy Shield thanks to Eldritch Battery. So you don't need mana flask, mana regeneration, something like that. So this is a free to cast build. And also it gives socket gems at 20% reduced mana reservation. So this way we can reserve even more stuff. So I am using like maybe 3, let's just count: Herald of Ash, Zillow 3, Herald of Purity. So 3 buffs in my helmet. And I also have Discipline for more inner shield, so I don't run out of inner shield, so I can cast spells easily at a boss fight. So yeah, we have total of 4 buffs thanks to this helmet. So yeah, very good helmet overall. So body armor. So because Harvestcraft is getting nerfed in 3.14, I'm gonna share a couple of chest options. So first of all, the one that I am using. So if you are doing this in 3.13, make sure you get something like this or craft maybe. The most important stats. So first of all, Explode. Obviously this gives a lot of clear speed, since this is also a physical conversion build. You will just also scale that also with some AoE. So that's how you can create chain reactions and clear off screens. Plus Herald of Ash, overkill damage, whatever. You have very good clear speed. So Explode is number 1 stat on Crusader base maybe. After that, I used Awaken Orb with Hunter base and picked spell crit chance. Tier 1, make sure you pick tier 1. So because this is a crit build, this is a good way to increase your crit. So after that, if you are in 3.13, if you want to invest more, maybe you are crafting this on your own, you can put a suffix power charge on crit strike by using augment crit or something like that, and augment caster on a prefix additional curse. So yeah, this is probably the best version that you can get. But if you are playing this build after 3.14, you cannot get this kind of chests. So let's talk about the other options. So again, you want Explode obviously on a Crusader. After that, probably spell crit if your crit is low. So just check your crit. Maybe if you are missing Battle Fate Flask, which is very cheap these days, so we are gonna see how it goes in the next league. But yeah, if your crit is not that good, again pick spell crit. If your crit is good, maybe you can pick additional curse, because you will only have 2 modes after 3.14 thanks to Harvest nerf. So yeah, only 2 influence modes. Just skip power charge on crit. There are other ways to generate power charge. You can use power charge on critical strike gem on your setup, because we have a lot of power charges. And also maybe anoint the last one, because I haven't picked one on the shadow talent tree side, on the right side. So yeah, just use a power charge on crit gem or something else maybe I cannot think of right now. So that way you can also generate power charges again. And yeah, so Explode plus curse or spell crit, that is your chest after 3.14. Glows, again double influence. This is obviously the high budget. This is a high budget build, so yeah, these are mostly around 10 exiled if you want to buy from someone else. They can be even cheaper if you craft this on your own. So unnerve for more DPS, since Blade Vortex hits a lot of times, in a quick session, because 10 blades are spinning. So it is very easy to get that 10% chance proc. So unnerve gives 10% increased damage taken against spell hits, which is a more damage multiplier. That's why it provides a lot of DPS. You don't actually need Culling Strike. That is just to spend some extra currency. So the stat that you need is actually unnerve, alright, for some good DPS. But if you have the money, if you want to use Awaken or Orb, just combine it with Culling Strike so you can kill bosses faster, or just combine it with spell damage that is also on Warlord base. Or maybe get the boat, because it is easy to craft this kind of stuff in Harvest right now, but again it is also gonna get nerfed in 3.14. So after 3.14, just pick unnerve plus something, Culling Strike or spell damage. Just pick one, because you are not gonna get both, unfortunately. You can actually completely skip Culling Strike, because you will just kill bosses instantly anyways. So yeah, it doesn't make more any sense actually. Also life or maybe resist, that's it. Boots, this is probably the cheapest piece I have maybe. So first of all, if you want an enchant, if you want to bother with it, elemental damage penetration if you haven't killed recently, this is actually easier to buy from someone else and craft the boots, you know, on your own. That is what I did, because doing labyrinth is a little, you know, boring sometimes, and penetration enchant is probably the most rare labyrinth enchant. So that's why I bought boots with this enchant and just used essences, those kind of stuff to craft my boots. That's it. But maybe there is something good on the market, you can just buy something, you know, with the enchant. So the stats you need, so dexterity is probably a must. That is a very good way to get dexterity. So you can also use dexterity essence to craft it with essences, you know. Other stats, obviously movement speed, or make sure you put it from bench. That is what I did. So more than 20% movement speed. Life and resistances, that's it. Very cheap actually, easy item. If you know something good, maybe for DPS, just go for it. So eventually, you can also use Warlord Exalt Orb on a prefix open, you know. So you can get maybe physical damage as extra fire if you are lucky. I actually used it after the videos, you know, because I completely forgot it, and I got +2 fire gems, which is worthless, you know, doing nothing. So yeah, there are some good Warlord prefixes, so you can do that, or if you know anything better, just go for it. Amulet, only one influence. I will just mention two different amulets. So first of all, this is what I use. These are way cheaper, that's why I picked this. So +1 physical gems and also physical damage as extra fire damage. They both, you know, buff Blade Vortex a lot. So if you have the budget, also search something with crit multiplier, and that's it. Try to get something with also open prefix or a life itself maybe. So yeah, you also need life, obviously. But maybe you can skip life on this piece, because we have decent life pool. So if you want something for cheaper, you can maybe skip that. And for the base type, make sure you pick something with dexterity. Since we are also gonna need some intelligence, probably you should pick Onyx Amulet or the one with both dex and intelligence. The one I can't spell, actually, turquoise or whatever. I actually have no idea how to pronounce that. Turquoise, I'm not really sure. So yeah, that amulet is also fine, because we need dex and intelligence. So other amulet example, I don't use that, but you can also do that. Hunter plus Warlord, so all physical gems thanks to Warlord, and also all dexterity gems from Hunter. So combine the both to get +2 gems if you want. But it is hard to get also crit multiplier on those ones, you know, so they are more expensive. This is actually way cheaper compared to that. That's why I picked only one influence, because Warlord influence alone is a very good way to get some Blade Vortex DPS. Rings. So after the nerfs, these rings are way cheaper these days. That's why I used these. These were very expensive in the previous leagues, but they got nerfed. Also, Assassin got nerfed, so less people are playing Assassin these days. So that's actually good for us, because we are a Chieftain, so nothing changed for us. So Circle of Anguish, these rings have stuff with Herald of Ash. They buff Herald of Ash, let's say. So they are actually random, alright? So while buying this, you need to search for fire damage while affected by Herald of Ash, and Herald of Ash has buff effect. You need to search the both at the same time. That is how you can get the most DPS. if your fire resist isn't kept, or if you are looking for maybe a cheaper ring, maybe these are going to be expensive later in 3.14, 3.15, whatever. You can just maybe get buff effect alone and put maybe fire resist while affected by Herald of Ash or those kind of other stuff for some defense. So you can also do that if you have a lower budget or whatever. Alright, you get the point. But for the maximum DPS, you should search for both. If you even have more budget, you can also pick a good implicit. So the good implicits are, the cheapest ones. Let's say global physical damage, elemental damage, fire damage. Maybe dexterity, that's also very good. You can do that. I actually forgot that. So that's a good way to get some attributes actually. Dexterity, maybe if it happens, I'm not sure all attributes, maybe if it is, if it exists, I really don't know. So yeah, just try to get a good implicit if you have the budget. So yeah, these rings eventually provide a lot of DPS. Each ring provides maybe like 5 million DPS, they are just broken on Blade Vortex builds, so I highly suggest you to invest on these kind of rings. Belt, this doesn't provide that much DPS, only the prefix. You can just craft it from the bench. So I just use this to cap my resistances and get some decent life. So Stygian Vice for socket, obviously. I actually have a guide on how to craft Stygian Vices with Hunter Influence. Otherwise you will just get scammed. I tell this all the time. If you are following my build, you already know what the deal is. So yeah, just watch that video and craft your own, or maybe make some good profit on the way, because that is how it goes. Otherwise you will just get scammed 100%. Just don't search for this. Just go and craft your own, make some good profit on the way if you get something else. I'm not gonna even explain it. Just go and watch that video. So you want life, max life, resist, and damage. That's it. Just check the video, you will understand what's going on. I also use the Corrupted Blood Immunity Jewel in this, so make sure you get that if you don't want to bother with life bleed flask, because actually I am not even using a life flask on this build. So yeah, the flask section, we are gonna explain those kind of stuff now. So let's talk about the flasks. So you are gonna see a lot of flasks here, so I'm gonna explain what's going on. So the ones that you are seeing in the middle, the 5 flasks, they are the ones that I am using while mapping, and the additional ones that you are gonna see at the bottom or at the right side or whatever, they are in red, squares, rectangulars, whatever. So they are the additional flasks that you can use while bossing, those kind of stuff. So let's just explain. So first of all, you obviously need a Quicksilver flask while mapping, because you want to move faster. Also make sure it has Adrenaline mode, so it is even faster, additional movement speed, So yeah, so because it's a crit build, you also want a Diamond Flask with Freeze or Curse immunity. Since you don't need Curse on the end game bosses, make sure you have Freeze on your Diamond Flask, because that is what you are gonna also use on end game bosses. Because the third flask, Quartz, you can also pick maybe something else if you want. I picked Quartz Flask because it also provides phasing, so it is smoother to do mapping. So yeah, this is my mapping flask with Curse immunity. Since you don't need Curse immunity on endgame bosses, just take out Quartz Flask on a Guardian, Conqueror map, Cirrus, Maven, alright, those kind of bosses do not have curses. Just take out Quartz and use one of the red ones, Battle Fate for maximum DPS. If you have lower budget, Wise Oak, or on those kind of bosses you also don't need Quicksilver Flask, also take out Quicksilver and put the rest, both Wise Oak and Battle Fate. So that is what I am doing on big bosses. So the rest of the flasks, Cinder Swallow all the time, recover life, mana and inner shield on kill, which is very good while mapping, one of the most overpowered flask these days, Also it provides onslaught, so you will move faster, cast faster. And also, since we are igniting thanks to being a fire build, our Blade Vortex doesn't ignite actually. We have a brand set up on bosses, so that will just ignite for us. You can also take advantage of that 10% increased damage, so it provides also more DPS. And finally, if you have the budget, pick something with crit strike during Flask effect to even get more DPS. So yeah, broken Flask, very powerful, provides lots of stuff. And finally, if you are playing block version, or you can just use this on the DPS version, Rumi's Concoction, just some attack and spell block for some defense. Also, it is a green flask, so you will get armor. So yeah, nice. If you are not comfortable playing without a life flask, this is actually how I play. You don't even need it while mapping, but I actually sometimes use life flask on something like Maven most of the time, because you need life flask on Maven. Yeah, that is way better. So you can just use a blood of career, or if you are not corrupt blood immune, just use a normal life flask, eternal life flask, maybe with bleed immunity. But something like blood of career, if you fix that corrupt blood issue, is way better. So yeah, just use that instead of Rumi or Quicksilver while bossing. So yeah, just figure it out on your own. So my boss flasks, again I'm telling you, Battle Fate instead of Quicksilver, Diamond Flask all the time, Vizok instead of Quartz Flask, Cinder Swallow all the time. If I want block, or just go for it, but on fights like Maven, again I'm telling you, get rid of Rumi and use a Blood of Career, because that is way better, and you will need that healing, because if you just get hit by something while not attacking, you just want that life flask on a big boss. Alright, so yeah, that is the flasks. In this part we are gonna take a look at the talent tree, the set of build versions. Let's say there are gonna be two versions. One is with more DPS, one is tanky, less DPS. So check whatever you want. You know, if you want to be tanky, just take this, pick this, because the tree is a little different. As you can see, we are using one less cluster. We get some block stuff here, some damage, all kind of stuff. We are also taking glancing blows, so we can double the block chance and get some mitigation instead. So yeah, this is the tankier version. So just check the path of building. There are also gonna be two different gear setup, obviously, because the quiver is different. So also pick this. I'm also using Rumi. So yeah, if you want to play tankier, we have almost 40 million DPS. If you want to have more DPS, this is what you should do. Max DPS gear, more DPS talent tree, 53 million burst DPS. So let's take a look at the talent tree. So call to arms for instant war cry, so you can use your endurance cry on the left mouse button, as I explained earlier, so you can have endurance charges all the time without even doing anything. Also I picked some endurance charges, but I didn't pick the second one on the DPS tree, but you can also do that if you want. Actually my character is low level, only 95. You can push higher. You can also get this. Let's just take a look at this, because it's a crit build. I wanted to scale power charges, get some good DPS. That's why I am using a Militant Fate Timeless Jewel with High Templar Dominus. You don't need anything else. The numbers aren't important. Just type Militant Fate, type High Templar Dominus, and get something. But there are actually different bonuses on these. I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about the bottom lines. You know, area damage per 10 devotion, elemental damage per 10 devotion, those kind of stuff. There are also buff effect, I believe, for auras. That's also good. It provides DPS. So try to pick something at least, you know, that works for you. So you can also get some bonus DPS, but that isn't very important actually. You are not gonna miss that much. You'll just maybe only get 100k DPS, 200k DPS, maybe, I'm not sure. So yeah, but you can also pick something that gives good bonus per 10 devotion. You can do that. So by using High Templar Dominus, we are also getting Inner Conviction, 3% more spell damage per power charge. Normally power charges provides only crit chance. This way they also provide more spell damage. Also gain power charges instead of frenzy charges. So thanks to this, you can also use maybe a chest, a body armor with frenzy charge generation. So they will be actually power charges instead. So maybe you can also do that. Or, you know, just use a power charge on crit that That's something like this. I already explained this. So yeah, make sure you generate those power charges somehow. So they will also give more spell damage. So this keystone alone gives a lot of DPS. So yeah. What else? So I'm using 2 clusters on the DPS version, full DPS. The clusters are actually the same, so I'm just gonna take a look at one of those because the second one also doesn't have any medium clusters. So yeah. So the large ones are the same. Just some physical stuff, you know, because Blade Vortex is actually a physical skill. We are gonna convert those, but it doesn't matter. You can just scale physical damage. That's why I picked a physical damage base, because they have a lot of percentage damage, 35%, 25%, those kind of stuff. So battle hardened, physical damage, evasion armor, force multiplier, this is very good, 5% chance to deal double damage, also 25% physical damage. Iron breaker, again a lot of physical damage. So yeah, just scale some physical damage. Also this double damage is again very good for bonus DPS. So for medium jewels we are only using 2 mediums. I just wanted to scale some area effect, so I will have better clear speed because our DPS is more than enough. So towering threat, life, area of effect, best power, because we also have some power charges. This also gives decent area of effect, also some area damage. So same stuff here, towering threat, because I want life, I don't need more DPS. Again, best power. So yeah, these are what I use. You can use something else if you want, but you are gonna miss a lot of health if you do this, you know. As you can see, we lost a lot of health. So these are better, in my opinion, for both health and DPS. So small ones, obviously we need more health, so fatal. If you still need intelligence or dexterity, you can also put those in these, because having high dex is actually hard, because we are playing a chieftain, so this side of the talent tree doesn't have much dexterity. So you want a good boot with dexterity, amulet maybe with some dexterity, so jewels, or it is not end of the world, just pick some 30 dex, alright. So make sure you have enough dexterity. What else? So rare jewels, these are cheaper. If you want more DPS, you can pick double multipliers. So crit multi for spells, crit multi, global crit multi, yeah. These are the only crit multipliers you can have, unfortunately. So that's why they are expensive. That's why I picked these kind of jewels with only 1 multiplier, because they are way cheaper. Also put life and maybe spell damage. Or it can also be area damage, physical damage. I will just maybe put some list on the screen. So yeah, just get some combination of these stats. So Watcher's Eye, because this is a, what's that, Eldritch Battery build, we are not consuming any mana. We cannot get Arcane Surge normally. That's why we are using this. Consecrate Ground, what's that? Gain Arcane Surge for 4 seconds when you create Consecrate Ground while affected by Zealotry. So this is actually very cheap. So yeah, you can just buy it like maybe 20 chaos. That is what it was the last time I checked it, because no one uses these actually. So very cheap Watcher's Eye. You can also get Arcane Surge thanks to this. And if you are also using where is that? Battle Fate, since this creates Consecrated Ground, it actually procs that Watcher's Eye instantly. So on a big boss, if you are using Battle Fate, you will just have that bonus as soon as possible, you know. You should use, where's that, this. We are not actually using this is to calculate, because the Watcher's Eye mode, as you can see, is in red coloring, you know. It doesn't work normally, the Path of Building cannot calculate it. So for now we are using this kind of setup just on the Path of Building. You do not use these gems, alright. So it can calculate our Watcher's Eye, because it provides a lot of DPS. The details are all obviously here, just read these after the video, so maybe you will have better understanding. And what else? Did we miss anything? So more rare jewels, spell damage, multiplier, life, dexterity, multiplier, life. So yeah, make sure you kept that dexterity. And I believe that's it about the jewels. So let's take a look at the tanky tree because there is something different there. So one less cluster, but what is the difference? We are using this side. Intuitive leap, block spell, block spell. The other parts are actually the same. Again, this one here. So I also picked this for some damage and area of effect. Maybe it helps, you know. So yeah, mainly for block. Combining it with the rear guard quiver, Rumi, you will have capped block. But this block is actually mitigation because we are using glancing blows obviously. So you take 65% of damage from block hit, which means that you are gonna mitigate 35% damage. So yeah, you can also play maybe without this, I'm not sure, with lower block. Because normal block just negates the damage. But with this, it is actually a damage mitigation. You are not actually blocking, you are just mitigating damage, so it is actually different. But this is how I played. If you want to test it, you can just go like this maybe. So yeah, just test it if you want. But this is how I played it eventually, and it is way tankier while mapping. So you can farm those juicy beyond stuff like that. Gems. Blade Vortex, make sure this is in your bow because our bow provides lots of gem level, those kind of stuff. Make sure your bow has 6 white colors because it is hard to off color. So Blade Vortex, Ball Blade Vortex obviously for more DPS because it has a cooldown. You can just use it on big bosses. Make sure you buy something with 21 level because that is what gives the DPS obviously. You don't need quality. If you are one of those guys that pays extra for 21 to 20, those kind of stuff, you are making mistake because that doesn't work most of the times. So yeah, do not pay extra for that. Just take something with 21 level because check my AoE, nothing happens. You know, because it is useless most of the times. So you don't need that. LA focus, more DPS, control destruction. Unleash, this is how you can cast 3 blade vortexes at the same time. So it is a quality of life improvement, and also I am not investing in any duration. That's why you have to play with Unleash all the time. If you have the money, you can play with Awaken Unleash. I haven't even used that. It is not necessary in my opinion, but you can do that. Empower for gem level. And finally Concentrate effect for even more DPS. While mapping, this actually makes some huge difference on the area, but since Explosions and Herald of Ash is what makes it clear, you can just play with this all the time. That is what I did, that is what you watched in the clips. So you can play with Concentrate effect all the time, but for some reason, if you are not comfortable with it, just pick something else, just click here. You can maybe use Combustion, this is also blue, but maybe your bow has 6 white, so yeah, maybe you can pick Fire Penetration instead. But you can safely play with Concentrate effect all the time because you won't notice that much. The explosions will just carry you. Buffs, this is in my helmet thanks to playing with a Devouring Diadem because it has socketed gem save 20% reduced mana reservation. So Herald of Ash, physical damage extra fire, a lot of DPS. Zealotry, more spell damage. Also we are using Watcher's Eye with Arcane Surge, so yeah. Enlighten obviously to reduce the mana cost. Herald of Purity, more physical damage, since Blade Vortex is a physical skill actually. So Herald of Purity also works. So yeah, these are our buffs in the helmet. Actually I'm also using one more buff, which I explained earlier, Discipline, because this is an Eldritch Battery build. We need some decent energy shield pool so we can cast our Blade Vortexes, you know, safely, and other spells, skills, whatever. Because Discipline provides a lot of inner shield, plus it also provides 30% recharge rate, which is huge, very important. So without Discipline, actually on boss fights with this low pool you cannot actually play, so Discipline is a must. If you are maybe playing with a Val, Regalia, body armor, maybe you know you already had one on another build, maybe you were lazy and didn't buy or craft an astral plate. So you can also play with Val Regalia maybe. So maybe you can try and play without discipline, but if you are playing with a similar gear, you absolutely need this, otherwise you will just run out of inner shield on boss fights. So this is a must. That's why there is also a 3 level enlighten here, but this can actually be wrong right now. Let's just check. No, it is correct. So yeah, I will just update Path of Building if something is wrong before releasing the video. So yeah, I think that enlighten is needed. It seems like that. Alright. Other stuff, Wild Rise Fire on bosses just provides a lot of DPS. We are obviously not using normal Rise Fire, alright? Just Wall on boss fights. Immortal Call. So you want to press Immortal Call on big bosses if you want that extra DPS, because if you consumed endurance charges, which is here, you can just check it, you will just get millions of DPS. But while mapping, I am actually using this with cast when damage taken, so you can also do that. So you cannot actually press it on your own, but that provides a lot of mitigation if you got hit, you know. So yeah, you can do that. But if you want to maximize your DPS, make sure you press this yourself, so you can get that bonus DPS whenever you want. Mobility setup, dash, second wind. Also Enduring Cry is here attached to second wind, so it has lower cooldown. Enduring Cry again is on our left mouse button, so you will just cast it automatically and instantly thanks to Call to Arms. So if your Watcher's Eye have a Vitality, that is what I used. You don't need that, that just provides a little extra health, not health, recover, because it gives life on it. Why is this wrong? So yeah, DPS 3, yeah. So Arcane Surge is what we need. I already explained this. Because that was cheap, I also got something with Vitality, life gain for each enemy hit, or just some, you know, extra recover. You don't actually need that. That is just what I invested in, you know. So that's why if you have that, also make sure you use Vitality, just a level 1. That is actually why we need that Enlighten. Yeah, I just remembered. If you don't have a Watcher's Eye like that, do not use this. So you don't need this Enlighten. So yeah, you see, we don't need it. That's why I hesitated while explaining this part. Because if you want that Vitality, if you have a similar Watcher's Eye, you need that level 3 Enlighten here attached to Discipline. And also check that level 1. And bam, only 1 mana left. Maybe you can't even do this at the lower level. Yeah, at 9th level, boom. So yeah, this is, you probably need some high level for this setup. But again, this is only for Watcher's Eye. If you have a similar one, you don't actually need this. So yeah, just figure it on your own if you want. So you will use this Enlighten or not. So yeah, you need to figure this. Everything is just explained here, you know. Just check these notes after the video, you will just understand. Because I explained everything here. Yeah, this is my setup without that kind of Watcher's Eye, so I can put cast when damage taken while mapping. Again, the same stuff, Rise Fire, Discipline, so yeah. And that sums up. No, what the fuck, I forgot this. It's good that I remembered. Oh shit. So yeah, this is body armor setup. That's why you need a full blue or white body armor, very important. So this is our boss setup. You just need this on a boss. So Arcanist Brand is something that casts the other stuff on its own. So you don't need to press all these buttons. So you just put your Arcanist Brand and it will cast the other stuff. So this is just to cast some curses. Ela Weakness. If you have a chest with apply additional curse, or maybe you anointed your amulet with Whispers of Doom. So yeah, if you have 2 curses, alright. Also make sure you use Assassin Mark, or maybe whichever is better. Let's see. Actually, Assassin Mark is better. So yeah, your number 1 curse is Assassin Mark. If you have double curse, just also put Ela Weakness. Also Wave of Conviction, so you can apply fire exposure, which provides a lot of DPS. So this chest setup only one button, Arcanist Brand. Just put it on the boss and it will just cast everything. Also there is combustion because Werewolf Conviction will also ignite, and bam, another millions of DPS. So this setup alone, can we do this? No. Yeah. What the fuck is this? Look at this DPS. This is just simply broken. What the fuck? So yeah, a lot of DPS. Or maybe it was wrong. Let's see. No, it was right. So yeah, this is simply broken. If anything happens to Arcanist Brand in the future, we need to cast these maybe manually. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is how we use right now. Very easy way to cast everything with just one button. So yeah, this is our boss DPS cooldown setup, let's say. Yeah, these are all about the gems right now. I think I explained everything. Pantheons, before I forgot them. Because we are stun immune, Brian King is obviously useless because we are playing with unwavering stance. Stun immunity is very important, so yeah, I highly suggest you to get this. That's why you can pick any of these, you know, Lunaris maybe, Solaris, or Arakali. I cannot read. Yeah. So I most of time pick Arakali because I am not shock immune on a Chieftain. So if you get the upgrades, reduced effect of shock, reduced shock duration, that really helps a lot. Also chaos resist against damage over time. Since it is very hard to get chaos resist, that also works. So yeah, this is probably what I use on these kind of builds. And for miner, it is impossible to read this like this. Fuck. The good ones are, where's that? Aberrat, but we cannot read it. Yeah, this one. Unaffected by burning ground, that is actually good while mapping, also for Harbinger farms. Or maybe, I'm not sure. I played with Aberrat, alright, for unaffected by burning ground because I just hate burning ground. Maybe you can play with this to move faster. I'm not sure, just pick something. Because Pantheons in the end aren't very important, but Arakali is actually very good. That shock effects reduce and duration reduce, you know, is very important actually. More important than you think. Because shock is just simply broken in this game. It's a lot, you know, provides increased damage taken to you, so you will just take a lot of damage. So shock reduction is actually very important. So we have come to the end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and join my Discord. If you want news, you know what's going on, if you want to chat with me and other players, Discord is very good for that. Also, before releasing a build guide, I sometimes, you know, give some item ideas to people, because sometimes if my videos got got a lot of views, or some pieces are going up in prices real fast. So yeah, that's why in being in my Discord really helps a lot, so you can buy some stuff cheaper early on. So yeah, thanks for watching and I will see you next time.